This week on Another Brother. Back in the stoods with my dudes, as Leslie Knope would say.
I haven't really read any legitimate news source on it.
Okay. So this should be good.
Yeah.
Wait a minute, we had an NFL kicker and an American Gladiator?
I didn't know anything about an NFL kicker.
I didn't either.
Okay, was he the one with like the perfect...
Yes, the flat top on top of his head.
He looks like a gladiator.
Just that perfect.
Brother over here, brother over there, brother everywhere. Another brother!
Back in the stoods with my dudes, as Leslie Knope would say.
No later than January, just like we said.
And as Reese Darby would say with all of their broken promises, we're back.
I feel like we were supposed to say something.
No, that's
Okay.
That's what they would say on the...
every time because they go like months without releasing another episode. And then, but he's
on the
creative
Cryptid Factor.
and funny. Yeah.
Yeah, it makes me wonder if when they were talking on Aliens Like Us about how they were definitely going to have a season 2, if like they knew that they were going to get canceled at that point and they were just joking around. I missed that one. That was a good podcast.
Oh my gosh. I need to revisit that one.
Were they Spotify sponsored?
No. Yes, actually. I think they were.
It was.
Or...
Some platform, though, was sponsoring them.
I think it was Spotify.
Yeah, I
though.
do think it was. Yeah. Not like Friendship Onion, the Mary and Pippin actors podcast, which was caught up in that big scandal with a company that was actually defrauding everyone and then eventually just had to completely shut down. And that's why Friendship Onion doesn't exist anymore.
Boo.
Wow.
I'm surprised you can't just like
deal.
lateral that podcast to another sponsor.
Maybe they can. Maybe they're just like, wow, that really sucked. I don't know that I want to deal with this anymore.
So I feel like Aliens Like Us, I feel like if anything happened, it was probably they didn't have time to do multiple podcasts. Because what's his name? The British guy, the Brit from Cryptid Factor. He has another podcast called The Fish, I think.
Huh.
And they talk about it on the Cryptid Factor a few times. But The Fish is like top 5 podcasts in the UK.
Even I've heard of that one.
Yeah. Yeah. And they cover some similar things. There's like some overlap with the Cryptid Factor. And then if you add like Aliens Like Us, you have like 3 podcasts covering aliens.
I mean, he wasn't on Aliens Like Us, was he? I don't know.
No, he wasn't.
Yeah, so...
Yeah, but for Reese,
I guess.
Well, Reese
was he
is a
on
guest.
The Fish too?
He's a guest on The Fish sometimes.
Okay. But Aliens Like Us was the perfect podcast for my taste.
I know.
I like it so much more than the Cryptid Factor.
So that's so funny because I totally forgot about Aliens Like Us because they only did so many episodes and then canceled.
Right.
Yeah.
Whereas the Cryptid Factor, they just keep stringing you along.
Right.
One episode. At most, I think they had like 7 in a row, which was like incredible. But yeah, as I'm driving to work, I wait for on the Spotify app in the car. If there's a new episode, there'll be a little blue dot next to it.
Yeah.
I see.
Just wait.
Well, what are we talking about today? I mean, it feels weird. Like, I don't know, like we need to catch up or something, but we don't need to.
Yeah.
Just because we've not been in everyone else's lives doesn't mean we haven't been in each other's lives.
I don't know. Quick recap. It was winter. We did Christmas and then New Year's and then the February holidays. And
sure.
Now it's the end of March. We're recording this at the end of March.
Yeah.
Boom.
And Easter's this Sunday. So
maybe we'll cut out that we're doing this at the end of March because maybe it'll take us until halfway through April to actually get it out. Who knows?
No, Cryptid Factor does that all the time. You have to learn from the pros.
Don't they all? Okay. Well, I've got a hot take. And, well, okay. So to be honest, I don't think it's that hot of a hot take. I think you guys will agree. If not
Oh, great.
immediately, then at least after talking about it a little bit.
It's a lukewarm take.
There will be others who would see it as a hot take.
A room temperature take.
Spit it out of the mouth.
That's what we need to do.
Room temperature takes.
Yeah, we've got totally solved mysteries, so it's like right up our alley.
I suppose that's true.
Yeah, so like people on the left, like as I was Googling and trying to look into stuff, posing this the way I'm about to pose it.
You're talking about politically?
Yeah.
People on the left?
Yeah, politically people on the left.
Okay.
A lot of them don't like bringing attention to this demographic, I'll say.
Okay.
Okay, now I don't want to get tied up in semantics, language, buzzwords, all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
But it's probably inevitable with something like this anyway.
Wait, are you saying I can't use buzzwords, or
Are
you limiting me? Is this the hot take? You're trying to limit my self-expression right now?
Temperature.
I think genuinely buzzwords need to be defined. I don't like buzzwords. That's not the hot take. No, I'm getting sidetracked. That's not the hot take.
Wait, the hot take is buzzwords need to be defined.
But
You're
they
really
do.
stringing this one out, man.
They've completely lost meaning. Once something becomes a buzzword, the meaning's lost because it's been so politicized that you have half the people who just completely gloss over it and pay no attention because it is now a buzzword.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other half people who act like everyone knows what it means and it's got
Sure.
this power behind it.
Right.
Anyway, let's move.
Sorry, no, I can't. I have two favorite buzzwords. The first one, not political, just things you hear in industry,
Sure.
and government and stuff.
Oh, okay.
The first one is to level the bubble on something. We have to get together and really level the bubble on this.
That is weird. I've never heard that.
I haven't
But do you
either.
kind of get it?
Well,
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
set
Yeah.
up tripods for a living.
We got to level the bubble on this. Yeah, that one's just weird. And then the other one is someone or some organization is going to start bending metal. Like, we're going to bend metal on this next week, or they're going to start bending metal at the end of the
That just
fiscal
makes me
year.
think of Avatar: The Last Airbender.
I knew you would. I knew you were going to go there.
That was not on my mind.
Ironically, that's where my mind went to. Even
It's like starting production, because you're bending, you're fabricating, you're producing the
All right,
system. So you
sure.
can use it on the podcast. Like, we're going to bend metal on this episode.
Sounds like something that
tomorrow.
Cybertruck fans would use.
Probably. Yeah.
Actually, I don't think that's how they're manufacturing that thing anymore.
It's just rusting is all I know. Which is so sad because I'm hoping to have my car paid off in time because I have a Cybertruck order.
You do? Oh my gosh.
And so I'm hoping I can pay my current car will be paid off in time for my order to be ready.
Yeah, I can see why you would hope that.
Yeah. And also hoping it's a better model year for the Cybertruck.
Mhm.
So it's not rusting anymore.
Sure.
Anyway.
And so it's actually bulletproof.
Yeah. That would be great. I digress.
Okay.
Lukewarm take. I
Yeah,
think we're
we've-
pretty ready. I think we've set up
one.
all
I
the
think
tension
so.
we need for a lukewarm.
It's been belabored enough. I think society, at least American society, has a masculinity crisis. There it is.
Wow, that is. Yeah, it doesn't get more lukewarm than that. I think everybody thinks that these days.
Well,
I-
the question is it that men aren't masculine enough? Are they overly masculine? Is there zero definition of masculinity?
I think the issue, maybe, correct me if I'm wrong about what you're trying to say,
Mhm.
Jacob. The issue is defining masculinity these days.
I think that's the biggest problem with it.
Right.
Yeah. Now, there's a lot that goes into that, and there are a lot of facets to it. I guess where people, again, on the left, or like I was trying to do some research, calling it a crisis, sometimes they would be upset about, and trying to call as much attention to it as I think it needs. I don't think it's getting enough. Genuinely, it's not getting enough attention.
Mm-hmm.
It's not to the same level as gay or trans rights or even feminism still, but like it needs to be addressed. Like, I don't know at the government level, but somewhere, somehow it needs to be addressed.
Yeah, I mean, it's tied into a lot of things that a lot of different people are complaining about. Like
everything.
Yeah.
The way women are treated, the way trans people are treated,
totally.
All of it. It's because men.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like people talking about, oh, what's that? What's that type of guy? There's
Alpha.
There's a name for like a incel.
Giga Chad.
Oh, incels.
See, I always forget what that is.
Involuntarily
celibate. Yeah.
They would not be celibate if they could not be celibate.
And like, there's a lot of conversation in a lot of other podcasts about incels and incel culture and incel chat boards online, and
which just means everyone seems to be just devoid of real connection.
Yes,
in their life. But speaking of the incel, have you seen the news coming out of New York City?
I mean, there's a lot of news coming out of New York City.
I don't know. I haven't really read any legitimate news source on it.
Okay. So this should be good.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like random women are just getting decked out on the streets of New York City by incel men.
They're just going around decking women,
punching them in the face
on the streets, not in the subways.
Right. Yeah, not even in the subway.
It's taking it above
ground. It's out in the open.
Well, I mean, I know
they got out of the basement.
They're bringing the National Guard into the subway, so I thought maybe that one just landed for me.
Good one. That's a good one. Yeah. We almost bought a house from an incel when we were back when I was still at Lawn Butler, and we were looking at houses. It was a piece of crap, but like you could just tell by the posters and things he had up around that house and his incredibly expensive looking gaming PC.
Oh yeah.
That he was probably an incel.
Yeah.
So strange. But this could go so many directions.
I know.
Yeah, one other thought I just had too. It's like, I don't know if I could say incel is like lack of masculinity. But
because we haven't defined it, Josh, remember?
It's certainly misguided either way.
Yeah.
But here's another thing I saw recently, a video for this alpha male training boot camp.
Oh gosh.
Oh dear.
No.
That costs $15,000
and lasts
3 days.
Oh my
74 hours. Okay. And I saw this video. It's these guys and they're sitting at these plastic tables in like someone's barn.
Perfect.
And they have like their boot camp handout kits on the table.
You're paying $15,000 and you're sitting at plastic tables.
That's real handmade out of
they
cast iron and giant planks of railroad ties.
Not a Ron Swanson setup here. And but they've all got their cute little backpacks, which is like the military Molly gear type webbing, and it's camo.
Sure.
And whatever, probably like axes, probably like an axe and a hatchet or whatever, and tools. Oh, sledgehammers at every position.
Naturally.
Yeah, to be a man.
Yeah.
And then the guy's running this thing. It's a video of this one guy, and he's just like, welcome to boot camp, blah, blah, blah. We're gonna treat you like a man. And after 72 hours when you graduate, and then he like flies off the handle and starts like yelling at these guys. He's like slapping his plastic table. He's like, if you think I will graduate you, if you don't deserve it, you're out of your mind. And, he's swearing and just like getting really intense about what presumably is just the dumbest thing on earth. And then I saw a post about like the 3 founders of this and all just I'm going to call it hyper masculine, toxic alpha male people.
Mm-hmm.
Like one dude was a Marine. One guy was a former Force Recon Marine.
Mm-hmm.
And the other guy is like some CEO or something. And,
no SEAL. Oh, wow.
Oh, SEALs are... No, I'll leave that comment.
So close.
Yeah, no, it was more going to be a comment on Marines versus... Anyway.
Sure.
Just ridiculous. And someone made a comment like, well, if paying another man $15,000 to be yelled at for 3 days isn't the most beta thing I've ever seen, I don't know where to go from here. So I don't know. Just all the labels and things people are throwing out. I couldn't help but bring that up in this conversation.
Yeah.
Though.
I've got plenty I could say, but it looks like you've got
A list.
stuff.
Yeah, I've got some statistics just to bring it in somewhere. This is where, I was saying I think it needs attention, whether it be government or what. This is why I think it's a public health crisis more than just an identity crisis.
Sure.
All right, I think I have this listed in an order that kind of builds off of each other. So in more than 2 out of 5 households in the U.S., a woman is the main breadwinner.
In how many?
More than 2 out of
40%.
5. So more than 40% of households, a female is the main breadwinner. 40% of American women earn more than the average man. 46% of men. And let me hold on. I need to pause right here before I keep going on.
That's really.
I'm working through that statistic.
I know.
Yeah.
Over 40% of women make more than 50% of.
So you got a bell curve for how much men make, and a bell curve for how much women make,
and 2 standard deviations.
and it should be 50%. If things were even, it would be 50% make more. It would be 50% are on the upside of that bell curve. So it's still women make less.
Yes.
That still means
Yes, it does.
on average that women make less. Sorry, I think I got that.
Yeah.
Go on.
Just a pause to say those first 2 statistics on their own are not bad things.
Sure.
Feminism and the feminist movement is not what's causing this masculinity crisis, but it has highlighted it in a manner that previously would not have been highlighted, because with a patriarchal society that worked for men. So these issues with masculinity were being, covered. It just wasn't coming to the forefront. Where we're now having this shift where some women are starting to out-earn some men. I'll phrase it that way because, yes, on average, men still make more to the dollar than the average
It's like
woman.
$1. It's like 70 cents on a dollar for
I
women.
think 78
Yeah.
is what I most recently saw. So there's still that disparity there. But women in the last century, have been catching up, which is just highlighting the issues that men are now having with their personal masculinity and identity. Okay, moving on. 46% of men in a survey said the man should be the one who earns the money and provide for the family.
Only 46% said that.
That's
Less than
surprising.
half said that.
Well, yeah, that is
Still, that's a
surprising.
lot of guys.
Sure. But less than half. That to me is like that's surprising.
It's a major culture.
That's really
shift.
surprising.
Yeah.
41% said the sorry, this one so stupid.
Okay.
41% said the man should have the final say in decisions.
Oh,
Well, those men
are incels.
But so you can already immediately see this juxtaposition of men finding value in being the authority,
right.
and being the provider,
Right.
yet men or women are starting to catch up in those roles.
Yeah.
Around 66% of young men say no one really knows them.
How? Sorry.
66% of young men.
That lines up with. Yep. Good. Sorry. Keep going.
20% of single men say they don't have any close friends.
Mm-hmm.
More than 50% say they are unsatisfied with their friend pool. 44% of survey respondents said they have suicidal thoughts. 48% said their online life is better than their real life.
That is part of incel culture, really.
And then there's another statistic I missed. Oh, shoot, I'm missing a couple of key other ones. It was something like 40% of men find their main value and worth in being the provider for their family. 3 out of 4 deaths of despair, which defined really simply are deaths caused by overdose, alcohol, or suicide, are men. So 75% of deaths of despair are men.
Holy crap.
And then a sociologist did a study on men who committed suicide. I don't know if this was via social media or what, but the final words that they used to represent themselves, the most common word was worthless.
That's just what I thought you were going to say.
Right.
That's just what came to
I
mind.
mean, this all led up to that.
Yeah.
And then, those are just, that's just a lot of statistics. That's just, it paints a sad and scary picture because, again, this 50% of the population roughly is men. The other 50% have brothers, husbands, fathers, significant others, professors, bosses, have some key person in their lives who are men as well. Okay, now one other thing. In a recent survey, 25% of Gen Z males in the UK believe it's harder to be a man than a woman.
How many said that?
25? A quarter. 25% say it's harder being male than female.
I'm actually happy to hear it's not a lot bigger than that. I was expecting more.
So Gen Z had the highest response rate for that.
Huh. Really?
Yes. As you go down in generations, that response became higher. Boomers had the lowest response rate.
Huh.
And then it follows the rest of this. 20% look favorable on Andrew Tate. If you guys know Andrew Tate.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, he's exactly who I was thinking of when I said there are a lot of people out there on podcasts talking about incel culture. Yeah.
And 1 in 6 said that feminism has done more harm than good. Which again, Gen Z had the highest response for that, though.
Oh, weird.
So the trend is that the younger the generation has been getting, the higher they feel they are worse off than women, and that feminism has done them wrong.
That is not what I would expect from Gen Z.
Exactly.
Honestly, I thought they were more on board than any other generation.
They're also far more anxious.
That's true.
And less confident in themselves than these older generations.
I mean, okay, this is a complicated issue.
It is.
Especially, I think, for not us specifically, but us as a part of the church that we belong to. The like a long time ago, I think it was 2001, maybe, the Proclamation on the Family, or maybe it was 1999. I can't remember if it came out before the Special Witness of Christ or...
For some reason, I thought it came out on my mission, but...
No.
Was it out while you were out?
It was out while I was out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Fairly old.
But like
Jacob just called me young. Nice.
The top leadership of our church that we consider to be the mouthpieces for God on earth came out with a document that outlined essentially gender roles is what a lot of it talks about. And this is something that Larissa and I have talked about a lot recently, but also just in general. But as she has stepped away from the church, this has been a topic of conversation we've had a lot.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I don't have my ADHD medication today.
Oh no,
I'm getting there, and I didn't have enough caffeine either.
Listeners, you can't tell, but he's flailing around. He started foaming at the mouth.
Okay, so this is my take on this document.
Is this a hot take?
It shouldn't be. It really shouldn't be.
We really need a hot take.
This is something that the general authorities, or for those that aren't members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, those are the central leadership of the church that then give counsel and leadership to not only the membership of the church in general, but also to more local leaders of the church. These authorities, they're called general authorities. They speak in general. That is their job. Their authority is general. So what they say should be taken in general. And while the document says that it's the father's primary purpose to preside, protect, and provide, and the mother's primary purpose is to nurture children, it also says, and this is something that people just seem to always forget because we want authorities to outline everything for us perfectly in detail, or else we're afraid that we're doing something wrong. But they specifically say, this is just one system that is going to work really well for the general population. It's not going to work for everybody. And you have to figure out between the two of you, husband and wife, what is going to work best for your family with the guidance of the Spirit. And especially today, as the general authorities are leaning more and more and more on, you have to have the Spirit with you. You have to know how to communicate with it and let it lead you through life. That's all the more important today, especially with, these issues of, we've had an older generation leading the world for a long time, and they only knew how to define a man as protector, provider, and presider. And so that's what kids know today. Even the youngest of kids, that's still how they think. I don't know who I am as a man if I can't provide. That's not great.
The problem.
Because that's not a system that really looks like it's going to work in what do they call it? Postmodern, or no, that's not quite it. Late stage capitalism, especially in this country. That's not going to work for much longer, I don't think. Like, I think everybody's going to have to be trying to scratch out the living that families need. So you can't really base your masculinity on your ability to be the breadwinner for the
more
family.
than just your masculinity, but your self-worth.
Sure.
And
yeah.
your intrinsic value.
Right.
That's just a huge problem.
Yeah. My question is, so all of those survey results that you discussed, I think it was
Now, there were 2 or 3 different surveys in there.
but every single one of them, for at least what I heard, was male versus female, female versus male. Like, how do you compare to women? How do you feel women compare to you?
There was a lot of those statistics.
A lot of those. And my question becomes, why is it a zero-sum game? Why do we even think in terms of, am I better off than women? If I'm making less than a woman, I'm less valuable as a man. So like it's a direct binary dichotomy that I think doesn't even need to exist. I think that's part of the old generational system, just from whatever it is, whatever the cultural reasons, historical reasons for everything that you guys have discussed.
Yeah.
But like today, my value and self-worth is in no way tied to the gender of my coworkers or the gender of my bosses.
Sure.
Or the successful single woman who might live down the road who like has more than me, or whether my wife is out working or at home with the kids. So I think, yeah, part of the problem is, and I think you're kind of touching on it too, is like masculinity seems to be defined by how you rate against women, how you are looked at compared to women.
I think that is how a lot of single men are going to see things, because I've seen some like YouTube videos that talk to women about all of these sorts of questions. This in this vein of questioning, like, okay, you want to make just as much money, but you still want men to pay for all the dates, right? You still want them to be asking you out. You still want them to be paying. And at least in these videos, the majority of them were saying, yeah, I would love for them to be paying. I would love for them to be taking me out. Yeah. And so like, it's difficult not to be comparing yourself to what they already have. If you need to provide something extra on top of what they have, you have to have more to begin with.
That's another YouTube short, I think it was, that I saw. It's this gal, and the headline is basically like, why do you have, like, why is it that you have to pay for dinner and the event and the date and everything? She's like, well, let me show you. And it goes through her like prep, getting ready for the date. And it's like, she'll pull out, I don't know anything about skincare or any of that stuff, so I'm not even going to try. I think I know the word foundation. But basically, she's going through all these different beauty products and applying them to her skin. It's all like her face and makeup and stuff.
Right.
And it's like $250 for this thing and $140 for this, $20 for this, blah, blah. And at the end, there's a sum of like $700 or $800. So it's one of these stitches where there's a guy who's responding to it. And as she's summing up the expense of each of these products, he's summing up the expense of what she actually used from the product. So it's like 12 cents, 15 cents, 27 cents.
Sure.
And, you know, his thing adds up to like $15. And so at the end of it, it shows him at like McDonald's with like a burger meal or something.
Sure.
He's like, there we go. That now we're even, you know, in terms of expense.
Sure. I mean, I feel like I need to say it one more time just to be clear. I don't think I'm not a feminist. Like while I do see that this is an issue, that is not to say that I don't think feminist issues are real and need attention and don't need to be taken care of. But I think all of these things are probably all tied together. Like they're all part of the same problem, I think, in the end.
I mean, they have to be. Why are women making less money? Because most bosses, managers, upper level people are men, and men want men to be making more money than women. So therefore, women are making less money. Like,
yeah, there's a lot of issues with that. You know, women typically won't try to get higher pay. They normally won't negotiate salary.
They won't apply for something they're not sure they qualify for entirely.
Yeah.
And men do.
Right. Because they're like, well, there's usually more confidence. Also, men, so like as you're like leading and mentoring, it's a lot more comfortable for a man to mentor another man when you're talking about leadership and promotions. And so if you start promoting, if you're already a man who's in senior leadership and you're starting to guide your replacement or someone who needs, you know, it's far more comfortable and easier to spend individual one-on-one time with another man. It gets very uncomfortable if you're trying to do that with a woman.
This is what's known as the boys club.
Right. It's the good old boys club. Yeah. So, I mean, it's tough. That's why I think sorry, I don't know what we're talking about anymore, but that's why I think these DEIA.
Yeah.
What's the A?
Accessibility.
Oh, okay.
So that's why I think these DEIA efforts are so important because without them, I'll probably just move to what is most comfortable.
Sure.
And feels most comfortable. Therefore, it feels right. But without DEIA, you know, being preached and focused on and that effort in place, with it in place, it helps you like kind of look outside of your comfort zone and identify the people who actually, you know, maybe should be getting mentored.
That's an interesting way to look at. Never mind that would be a hot take. I am gonna.
We only do lukewarm takes here. No,
come on.
I'm working in theater a lot now. Like, so my ideas on all this stuff are going to be seen by a lot of so-called quote unquote alpha males as pretty worthless. Like, men in theater are gay, period. You know, that's what
hot take.
That's what people.
Oh,
that's what
not his hot take.
That's not my hot take. That's what a lot of people in general think, but especially like these alpha male type ding dongs. And yeah, I mean, there certainly are. I'm not going to say there aren't, but I think a lot of them are, I would call braver and more courageous than some of these alpha males on the internet. And I think a lot of people like to view that as a masculine trait.
Bravery.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, we didn't even talk about or touch, and I don't really want to because it's icky. The whole toxic, like truly toxic masculinity type of crap, like Andrew Tate people.
Yeah.
But like, I have this problem of when something feels really illogical to me, I have a hard time believing it's true or it does happen or does exist. So like the whole thing about women feeling uncomfortable walking out on the street at night by themselves. Like, I just think to myself, like, what's there to be afraid of? Like, I know who I am.
Oh, really? Oh,
like, as a man, like, well, I mean, it does, but like,
no, I mean, it doesn't to me.
Right. So I don't understand. Yes, I'm both ways because like, I know what kind of a man I am and I just assume others are going to be the same way. And so I think, why would anyone ever give a woman troubles? But then I talked to Heather and, you know, she's like, yeah, like I experience and feel all those exact same things too. So like, there's like the immediate, like I have to listen to that and fully believe what my wife is telling me. So again, if masculinity were fixed and we got rid of all that crap, like all of those kinds of problems and issues that women face on the daily, like that would all be gone too. I don't know. It just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. There's and kind of domineering. Yeah. Anyway.
Now, obviously,
predatory.
You're speaking specifically about U.S. masculinity for our international listeners,
I mean, yeah,
Yeah,
it's
as
hard
far
for us
as
to
we
understand
know.
your cultures and,
of course.
but yeah, for the U.S., curious. I don't know. Do we?
Have a solution.
Well,
Yeah, right.
this is where I get in trouble because my question is, what is masculinity
Yeah.
at its core? Like, why do we speak in terms of masculinity?
Why does it need
Why
to
do
be-
we speak in terms of
Yeah.
femininity versus just identifying your own value and your own self-worth and just being yourself versus like having some weird club around our common genitals and what that can mean for us if we just all
Right.
get on the same page.
Yeah, that's the more I've thought about it, that's kind of where I've been going because like let's be honest, some of the biggest opponents out there to this whole idea or some of the biggest proponents to like manly masculinity
Mm-hmm.
are ultra conservative Christians,
Mm-hmm.
right?
For sure.
They're one of the biggest camps. But like
which is probably just based on tradition.
yeah, sure, but if you actually look at the Bible and actually read about
Yeah.
Christ's traits and
Yeah.
attributes,
Yeah.
that is not the kind of masculinity that they're pushing. A lot of his traits, humble, submissive, meek, charitable, kind, those same people would traditionally
Turning-
identify those as feminine traits.
Uh-huh.
But
Yeah.
that
As
is
vulnerability
Christ.
and the opposite of manliness.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, that is New Testament Christ. Old Testament Christ, little different animal. And so you could say that it is balanced to have both sets of qualities, depending on the situation. Okay, let's maybe remove that whole
It is,
part.
though.
I mean,
Yeah, it is,
like flipping the tables at the temple, you know,
Oh,
like-
thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
kicking everything to the curb when it needed to be. But I mean, yeah, here's the hot take for today. I think anybody that's like preaching masculine men, manly men, facial hair and steaks and all that bullcrap.
Whoa.
No,
We all have
I'm
a
not saying that
mustache
I have
now.
anything wrong with facial hair and steaks, but like trying to define men that way,
As that.
you know,
Yeah.
and muscles and
Cars.
yeah, they're not really Christian. They might say they're Christian, but like get back to what Christianity is, people. Christ is the perfect example of not just a person, but also a perfect man. So figure it out.
So going off of that and then right back immediately to what Josh was saying, I feel like everyone can relate. Everyone who chooses to can relate to the person that was Christ, to the
Mhm.
type of human that he was. Because yes, he wasn't like man, woman. I don't know what I'm trying to say now. But he wasn't like drawing this line of like, this is what men should be, this is what women should be. He was just him
Yeah. Just
and universal.
virtuous.
Yeah. So yeah, why are we so obsessed with this whole?
It's a totally normal human thing to want to box everything into boxes.
It is,
It just makes things feel more comfortable to our brains.
and it happens on both sides. From like, I mean, do you remember at recess? Like, I had to be faster than the girls, but then also the girls had to like go in there and show me up. It's like I feel like from as young as I can remember, there was like this friction there between boys and girls, and I don't know if sometimes
Patriarchy.
that's.
It's got to be Looney Tunes.
Yeah, I don't know if that is media or if some of that is somewhat natural.
Well, there was
and maybe
certainly
even,
some media there. Yeah,
but I mean, maybe there, yeah.
I think there was. No, I really do.
Yeah.
So right, because I mean, I remember Frosted Flakes cartoon, not cartoon,
Tony the
commercial.
Tiger.
Uh-huh.
Anything you can do, I can do better, and it keeps switching back and forth between the boys singing it, then the girls singing it,
Mhm.
and they're riffing off each other, and it's them trying to show each other up.
Right.
So yeah, it just goes back to the same thing. Like, why is there this constant pitting men and
Well,
women against each other and trying to prove that one gender is better than the other?
And I probably shouldn't, so I'll just say it because I feel like it needs to be said, just given the general nature of the topic, but we don't have to go into it. And you go back to those early media days, what percentage of those kids were white?
Yeah.
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 Probably pretty homogenous media intake there. And so just consider, and I'll also say we're probably just discussing U.S. white masculinity, because you get into the Black American population and masculinity and femininity, I'm sure, looks very different.
Yeah, some of these statistics got worse for minority males compared to white males.
And again, just going back to that media thing, representation in media, representation in the workplace, representation in your neighborhood, representation in the schools that you're at, all of it plays into your definition of yourself, the definition of your culture.
It's also socioeconomic standing.
Yeah.
Like, I don't feel like I don't define myself by. Now, granted, Heather is a stay-at-home mom. Granted, I am the one who works and provides financially right now. But that's not how I define my worth and my value. But I think in different socioeconomic classes, it's compared to middle class.
Right. And I define my identity and worth and value as being the Red Steward. And that value is around $15.95. So if you want to get on our merch shop,
gosh, we're doing this.
Grab yourself some Red Steward merchandise. You too can be valued.
Okay, but seriously, though,
dang it, that was my best pitch.
I think that some of this and how people feel about these things has to do with Maslow's hierarchy of human need. Are you guys familiar with that? Do you remember that from 7th grade health class?
Yeah.
So, I thought it was 5th grade.
Oh, I didn't get it in 5th grade.
I think it was science club for me.
I got it in 7th grade. Really? Oh, weird. I got it in 7th grade health class. Anyway, I think you guys are both pretty fulfilled in life in general.
Okay, sorry. Before you move on, this isn't what I think it is.
So at the bottom of the pyramid of human need.
Okay. I'm sorry I'm laughing, Jacob, but every man knows this.
Well, okay, let me prove I do know then. Crap. A house.
Shelter,
that's the word. Dang it. I wanted to say structure. Shelter, food, water,
the basic
clothing.
physical
needs. Okay, sorry. You can move on then. I got it.
And I
knew what it was.
I can never remember like how many tiers there are to it and what goes on in the middle. But like at the bottom are those basic needs. And as you go up the pyramid, you start to become more and more spiritual, right? Where at the top is self-actualization, which in today's modern world could mean a lot of things. People have some very varying ideas about what self-actualization is these days. But yeah, in general, his point was that to have any real spiritual fulfillment up at the top of the pyramid, you have to first meet all of these demands at the bottom for food and shelter, all these basic things. And then there's another tier above that gets a little more complicated and a little more complicated.
Well, I think you're right. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's just food, water, shelter,
clothing.
Yeah.
Right.
It's that basic.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So if you are able to provide for your family, if you are providing for your family, it's probably easier for you to not to define yourself and your value that way because you've got that taken care of.
That's why I was bringing, I think socioeconomic class will change some outlook on this.
I'm not providing particularly well for my family. Things are not really going they've not gone well for me in life in general. Like it's just been a weird road for me. And so I still feel that pull of like, there's a defining part of me that's not being met. And I only know that it's there because it's not met. And I don't know that that would be the case for you guys, but it does make me wonder.
I think that makes a lot of sense. Yeah. I don't know. Cause I do feel pretty good on most of those. Yeah. On most of those, but I do think, I remember back when things were more hairy and not certain. I don't think it affected my concept of my own masculinity as much as just was super stressful.
Yeah.
Sure. My masculinity, maybe not, but my worth.
Yeah.
My worth as a man, which for some reason is different in my head than just my masculinity.
Yeah. This is why I'm grateful I married my wife, because she constantly keeps me in check.
Yeah.
As you guys know,
shout out to Shayna.
She did not take my last name. And I got to tell you, no matter how weird it sounds, and it might sound weird and not weird, depending on who you are, that was a hard one for me to get through.
It's just different.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't know anybody that had done that personally.
Right.
I don't think.
Yeah. Yeah. That one was, you know, and I think that did create a gut check on my sense of masculinity.
Sure. Yeah.
Like, well, what do you mean though?
I own you now.
Well, that's not what I thought, but that's what she told me.
Yeah.
You know, that's the concept and feeling that she, you know, educated me on. And obviously that's not how I want my marriage to go or to look or feel. So clearly I'm like, oh, well, in that case, let's not do that. But yeah, that, and to this day, every time I see her last name with her first name still, you know, not really, but at the time when we were discussing it, I was like, ooh, not sure. And then she said, well, why don't you take my last name? I was like, ooh, that's a hard no. You know, definitely can't do that. So, but yeah, that's probably a first world problem.
But where did you guys end up?
Separate last names.
Wait, what?
We never legally changed it.
Oh, I thought you were legally the Anderson Stewarts.
No,
I don't.
But
not legally.
When we came to terms with that, and we were 100% comfortable with and on board with that being what we did, it just resolved.
Yeah,
it was like, okay, no, we feel good. Like we understand where each of us are at, and rather than go through the pain of changing legal records and things.
Yeah,
and yeah, so
well, to make you feel a little better, maybe. Heather did take the last name of Stewart, and for probably a couple years after we got married, she never changed her outgoing voicemail on her cell phone. So for multiple years it said, well, I don't remember exactly what it said, but you know, you've called Heather Trotier,
right?
And every time I'd call her and she wouldn't pick up, and I'd hear that
like a dagger right to the heart.
So that's how petty I was about it.
Which, okay, going to the masculinity thing, is it because it appears like they're still available for other men to court?
I think it's because she did legally change her name, and yet here on this one stupid thing, I don't know. I don't want to get into it, Josh.
I know, that's fine. Suppress your feelings like a real man.
Heather and I now have 2 siblings who didn't take on their partner's last name, so you're not alone. Actually, that's another problem. Oh, geez, no, there's too much to it.
Yeah, this is a really big topic for
huge.
A half-hour segment.
I think we're at an hour, so welcome back, everybody.
Yeah, hopefully my story today is nice and short. It is.
No, you said, actually. I don't remember if you said that in the last episode of season 2, but you told us. Reminder to all you bros out there. Brothers. That sounds wrong. Reminder to all you brothers out there. We're only publishing every other week now.
True.
And so episodes might be longer for this season.
Maybe, yeah. I guess, yeah, they could be. Why not?
Yeah, we do what we want. We're the captain of our ships.
Men.
Well, I mean, also, can I just say this too? Okay, so I'm sitting across from the table from Alex. He's wearing
I know what you're going to say.
Wearing a plaid Axeman shirt. What do you call that? Flannel shirt.
Wearing a flannel.
With some pretty on-point suspenders.
Army green.
Yeah. It looks like straight from the Vietnam War, like a pistol belt
shaved
over each
head,
shoulder.
Very shaved nice, head. Clean mustache.
Exactly.
All right, so...
Wait, and the sleeves are rolled up to the elbow. I'm just not buying much of this.
Okay, let's take that note by note. It's hot. This is a lighter flannel, but it is warm in the room, so I've got the sleeves rolled up.
Well, it begs the question why you have the flannel on in the first place.
It was colder outside, and I had to go outside, and I have a bald head, and so temperature can really affect me.
You're really going to call out his cancer, Josh?
Yeah,
dude.
What?
You said he was bald.
Dang it, I did.
And as far as the suspenders go, belts don't work on fat people. They just don't. So you got to use something smarter than squeeze it right around the middle to keep it suspended. Like what?
What
kind of engineering is that?
The point is to get enough of the fat under the belt line that that props it up?
I can't do it. It just squishes back out.
Okay. Well,
All right. If we haven't lost you women out there yet, just a reminder, you two are our brothers, and we're happy that you are listening to us.
Yeah, we're not using that in a gendered way, even though I don't know of anyone that doesn't use that in a gendered way, but everybody can be another brother.
Hey, kids, do you know what time it is?
Story time!
Okay, well, I do think this is going to be a shorter story, honestly.
Okay.
So, this came to my attention. I had completely forgotten about this, but this came to my attention.
Sorry.
Okay.
I know what my hot take was. My hot take was there's a male health crisis. Dang it. Okay, go on.
Male and proud.
Sorry, you can.
oh god.
That's what. Okay, anyway. Sorry. Okay.
This
Restart.
actually fits in pretty well with what we were just talking about, I think, actually.
Oh snap!
Not bad. Okay, so over the break, when we were not recording the podcast, I was diagnosed with ADHD. Very belated diagnosis. And it's happening a lot. It's happened a lot during the pandemic. That's why there's a shortage of all the ADHD drugs.
Oh, once everyone's stuck
Really?
at home with nothing to do.
Yeah.
Oh.
Like, I didn't mean to get into like ADHD, but just really quickly. It was on the forefront of possibly being diagnosed for quite a few years, but I would take these quizzes. All the
BuzzFeed.
no. No.
No, the Facebook ones that tell you which house you're in.
The only diagnostic tool for ADHD, besides some new, I think, fMRI imaging of the brain, which is fairly new and I don't know anything about it. The only other tool is a questionnaire. And I don't think it's one specific questionnaire, but all the questions are in the same vein. When you were a kid, did you have a problem with this? Did you have a problem with that? Did you talk too much? Did you this? Blah, 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 blah. When I was younger taking these, and when I say younger, I still mean like in my 20s, and taking these questionnaires, I didn't realize it at the time, but I was so like ADHD traumatized that I didn't want to answer the questions truthfully.
Because you didn't want to have ADHD?
Because when you have ADHD, you get in trouble for all of the things that are on these quizzes.
Yeah.
On these questionnaires. You get teachers on your back, and then your parents are on your back. Even other kids sometimes don't like you because of some of these things. And so like I learned to forget what I was like as a kid and to like lie on the diagnostic quiz.
I see.
Which was a shock to me because I care deeply about the truth. I definitely want to know what's wrong with my brain. I've always wanted to know how to fix myself. So when I finally realized that I was not telling the full truth on these quizzes, thanks to the right therapist who is an adult with ADHD, who was diagnosed as an adult and is now a therapist himself, he knows all the pitfalls of being diagnosed with this as an adult. And he was able to walk me through, this is what ADHD as an adult can look like. Something that none of these quizzes are ever going to talk about. And I was like, oh my gosh, I do all of that. Oh, okay. So then I went and I took, I've got my little stress ball.
Hey, that's
to
just
fiddle
fun
with.
though.
But I need it. Like it helps me to concentrate. It really does. There was a time when I couldn't watch General Conference without also playing Minecraft at the same time.
No, that's just because it's boring.
But I used to be able to focus. Okay, here's something about ADHD that a lot of people, I think, rather unfortunately and misguidedly call an ADHD superpower. But you can get hyper-focused on things. And one of the ways that I learned to cope with my ADHD was learning to actually marshal and engage my hyper-focus on what I wanted. I don't know how I did that. It's not supposed to be possible, according to a lot of doctors, but I did. So at church, I could always just be super laser focused on what people were saying in sacrament meeting, no matter how boring and terrible their talks were. And same with general conference. I could just be focused, and then I got cancer and my life crumbled. Like, there was no normal anymore. And so I just slowly lost, not slowly, pretty dang quickly. I started to lose all of the coping mechanisms that were keeping me put together as a person with ADHD. My memory started to fall apart. My ability to be on time to things, I'm still pretty okay at that. But I would get more and more of the anxiety that ADHD people get because they have an appointment at some point later in the day. That's a normal thing. Like if you have something at 2:00 in the afternoon and you have ADHD, you're just anxiously waiting for that point in time because you're afraid you're going to be late and get in trouble. That started to grow. Just all kinds of cognitive things just got worse and worse and worse, which did eventually lead to me finding the right therapist that was like, let me help you out, dude. let's get this taken care of. So finally got that taken care of. This is also the same therapist that did all of the EMDR and internal family systems stuff with me. So this was the most recent bit of diagnostic stuff that has come from this therapist is I've got ADHD. And so we've been talking about a lot of different struggles I've had in life. And one of the things that we talked about was this. A lot of people like to use the word trauma today, and I don't take it lightly. I don't want to take the word lightly because it has a real meaning. It has a real definition. And I try to use the word correctly. A lot of people overuse it, I think. But I try to use it correctly based on what my therapist tells me. I had some trauma as a kid with PE teachers. You guys probably never experienced this because you were never the fat kid, but I was. After I broke my leg, I was pretty heavy.
You weren't, which is just crazy to me because you weren't fat.
Maybe not, but like lots of kids told me that I was, and I just took their word for it. and I was heavier. And because of that heaviness, I wasn't as quick or as good at any of the standardized health tests that our government likes to measure our children with. I'm hoping they're not the same as they used to be, but
I don't know, because that was a Bill Clinton thing and then George Bush thing.
Right.
I think it changed with Michelle Obama.
Oh, yeah, right. Well, whatever it has changed to, I hope it, I mean, physical health is important. I'm not doubting that, but mental health is important too. And a lot of people's mental health was wrecked in the name of physical health, mine among them. And I can remember this PE teacher in the 6th grade that was just constantly in my face while trying to do these tests. And it's like, dude, I'm doing what I can do. This is what I've got. Like, are you going to get fired if I don't pass this test? Does this reflect on you somehow? Like, why are you like this? But like, he was just in my face. You are such a loser. Why can't you get more than this? Do more. Do you want to be a loser your whole life? I was like, what the freak is going on? So, and that was not unusual. Like I'd had lots of those experiences, middle school and high school. So I don't know what possessed me to take a weightlifting class at McNary in high school, but I did. And that coach was the flippin' best coach I've ever had in my entire life as far as like PE goes.
Yeah.
His name was Mr. Turner. And here comes the big twist that makes it the story that I wanted to tell.
What?
He is also known as American Gladiator Cyclone.
No.
Yeah. He was an American Gladiator from the 90s TV show American Gladiators.
This was my weightlifting teacher too.
Of course he was. Yeah. He was Mr. Turner.
Wait a minute. We had an NFL kicker and an American Gladiator?
I didn't know anything about an NFL kicker.
I didn't either.
Okay. Was he the one with like the perfect?
Yes. The flat top on top of his head.
He looks like a gladiator.
And just that perfect Dorito shape. Hugely broad shoulders down to that tiny waist.
And even this is going to be a weird thing to say for listeners, but his face, even his face, like he
Blocky.
just
made of stone.
Yeah. He looks like the Russian from the Rocky movie.
He did a bit.
He did.
Especially with that haircut. You know?
Drago.
Okay. I'm sorry. I
No
also want to
way.
put out there that I had a not assistant teacher, a sub for my speech class to give speeches. Not
Public speaking.
public speaking class. Thank you. Who wrote The Simpsons? What's his name? He wrote the Simpsons TV show.
Matt
No.
Yes.
Groening?
No.
Groening. Yes.
Are you? No.
I'm not kidding.
I mean, I know he's Oregonian.
Unless this dude could have lied to me. He could have lied to our class. That's what he said.
That would have been wow. That's crazy.
At Whitaker.
Well, anyway.
Sorry. That went off the rails.
So I'm talking to my therapist about why can't
Cyclone.
I ever get into a workout? I just can't. Every time I try, I break out in a sweat, not because of the work, because I haven't done anything yet. But like I break out in a sweat, my face gets really hot and itchy, and I'm just overwhelmed with panic. And I want to be healthier. I need to be doing more with my health. Like I'm turning 40 in just a little more than a year now. And my muscles have really gone since getting cancer. I've let them atrophy.
I mean, diet does a lot. Diet's worth a lot too.
Sure.
But
Yeah.
Nutrition is super important.
Sure. And I'm figuring that out. Like there's a certain amount of diet that's healthy for ADHD brains too. Like I'm trying to, fortunately for me, it's essentially lots of omega-3s and lots of protein.
Yeah.
So that's great.
That is great.
Like I can build muscle off of that.
Yeah.
But I have to overcome this mental block because I can't do anything. I can't do yoga without just internally dying.
What about hiking?
That is the only form of
Okay,
exercise
that's
I can get done.
What did you say?
That's not.
And I actually, you're right, Jacob. Thank you for reminding me of that because I started to notice when I had cancer that, or after treatment was over, I think really, that the tendons in my knees had gotten really weak. Like they had started to go. And so I was like, well, doctors say that's not coming back. That's not great. I don't know what to do. And I was just like, no, I'm not going to give in. I'm going to do hiking wind sprints. I'm going to hike using the wind sprint methodology. So I just started hiking Rock Canyon. And we've talked about Rock Canyon on the podcast, right? I think.
We have more to talk about, but yes.
Yeah. Okay. So I started hiking Rock Canyon, and eventually I started. I mean, I would just hike at my normal pace, which is much slower than your guys' normal pace, and then I would stop when I needed to take a break, and then when I felt like I didn't really need any more break, I would keep going. Eventually, I wouldn't need to stop for a break at that pace, and I would start to pick up the pace, and then take a break by walking. And eventually I was jogging up the canyon and walking to take a break. Or I don't ever think I got to the point where I was like really sprinting up the canyon. But then I went to Slate Canyon, which is way steeper.
Way steeper.
And I started to do it there. And my knees came back. I don't know why I was reading that that's not something that comes back. But for me, it did. So I need to do that again. Hiking is good for me. But, you got to arms, upper body, core muscles.
Well, in the very least, just to resolve that trauma and resolve that block,
right,
is going to be worth its gold.
Of course.
Regardless.
Right.
Yeah.
So we're still working on that. But something that came out of that was remembering Mr. Turner. Cyclone. He was positive to everyone.
Yeah,
like there were
was.
plenty of girls in the class. He never once belittled me. He never once belittled them. Not that girls are more deserving of belittlement in weightlifting than guys, but like he was connecting this to what we were talking about. Like he just treated everyone like we're all starting from a certain point that is individual to us, and we're just here to improve. And I don't care who you are, what you are, we're just here to improve ourselves. And we're going to get it done with good technique.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
He also never really hyped you up or anything.
Well,
he never really was like praise. I'll say praise. He never really praised you
that's true.
either. Even when we were doing like the weightlifting at the end of each semester, when you go to like try to break
Your
records,
maxes.
Right.
Yeah.
it was never. There was no real praise. It was maybe like all right, good job. We'll get your name up on the board, sort of a thing, So he was just right. He just even keeled.
Mm-hmm.
Kind, absolutely. I agree. Kind with everybody. and just down to earth and just like, all right, we're here to exercise. Let me show you how to do this.
Flippin' Cyclone.
That's crazy. Is he really?
Yeah, I looked it up.
I've already got it in my browser
because
for when I take airplane mode off.
There were plenty of people in the class that were like, he's an American Gladiator, but like there was no internet. I couldn't check that was true, but I did. I remembered his name, Mr. Turner, and I looked up American Gladiator Cyclone, and it came up Barry Turner. It's like, oh my gosh, he really was.
Dude, that blows me away.
And he was rad.
He was rad. I think because I was it's not my story time. I was like a super introverted, nerdy kid, always bullied, zero self-esteem, zero self-confidence, through all of middle school and entering high school. And that first semester in high school, I took weightlifting, and I took it every semester for those 4 years.
Yeah, that would have been great.
And I think partly because I felt, I'm going to say it, this might trigger people. It was a safe space. That weight room was a safe space.
For all you people that don't believe in triggers, don't be triggered by someone saying safe space here.
That was my favorite place to be.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah.
I think the closest I got to a compliment was my form was not quite right when I would do squats. I would go way too far down. Like I would touch my butt to my heels.
No, that's so anyway. That's fine.
Okay.
But
well, it's not
his traditional.
It's not what he was trying to teach
His
us.
instruction was very, very classic.
And he was like, I think one time he said, "Wow, that was deep, but don't do that again. You need to stop when your thighs are parallel to the ground."
Well,
yeah. I mean, that's the story. Really, that's it.
That's fantastic.
I mean, I need to like print out a poster of Cyclone to like remind me this guy gets it. I have a positive role model to remember that I can just work out. It's just about getting better. That's all it is.
No judgment free zone.
Hey, dude, talk about. Oh no, this is going back against what we were saying, but talk about defining masculinity.
He was just chill with
accepting
himself.
who you are,
yeah,
and just moving from there.
Now, I want to preface this with, if anyone knows anything more about Cyclone, we're not talking about him as, I don't know. So there's the American Gladiator show on Netflix where they go into like this.
I've only watched one episode so far.
Oh, really?
Same. Yeah.
Oh, no.
So it was apparently a very toxic show.
Dude, so bad.
Very bad in the background.
Oh, that sucks.
I didn't watch it because I'm like, oh, this isn't fun. This isn't what I wanted to know about the show.
I've been wanting a reboot of American Gladiators for ages.
Right.
Like bring back the tennis ball cannons.
Yeah.
I freaking loved those things.
Yeah. So I'll just say we don't know any. Maybe he has a sordid history that might be in that show. I don't know. But our experience in high school was he was a phenomenal person.
I would find that hard to believe because everything that I saw when I Googled him was like, Robert Turner is a boss and he's so positive and he's so great. Like everyone on the internet was saying this too. It's like, wow, I really did have this.
I might have to like just watch the show now just to see him as like the one positive.
There's a YouTube
role
channel that is constantly streaming episodes.
Really?
Of American Gladiators.
Just live streams of it.
Okay, I've been wanting to do this since we started the episode. Plus one more. Quick shout out to two fellow members of our church who are a little more famous than us. Adam McKay, who runs Art of Manliness, which I haven't been on the site in quite a while, but I think he takes a pretty positive, pretty good tack on what manliness is and masculinity.
Yeah.
And shout out to yet another, also member of our church, Mark Rober, super famous and big fan of American Gladiators.
Yes, he has.
He would know Cyclone.
Oh yeah, he does.
Yeah, he does.
Reboot it, Mark.
Oh, and this is a little off topic now, but he just added a new type of cannon that is remote controlled by a kid who doesn't have any function in his legs. And he like built him this amazing custom wheelchair that will go up and down stairs for him.
We haven't watched the episode
I haven't
yet.
watched that one yet either.
Well, he's got a Nerf cannon in his Crunch Lab studio that is remote controlled by that kid and that kid only. he just has on this
and
tablet.
he can just at any time
he
activate
can
it.
just start shooting up Mark.
Does he have camera feed?
Yeah.
So he can aim it.
Yeah, he can aim it with the camera and just take him out.
That's incredible.
That's amazing.
Yeah, you should watch that episode. It's
Yeah,
real
we
good.
need to now.
That's awesome.
Yeah. One final shout out to Cyclone. What a hero.
Hero.
Here.
True American hero.
I think that's G.I. Joe's.
Dang it.
He could have
He's
been a
built
G.I.
like
Joe.
one.
Yeah. Why
Yeah.
not? Thank you.
Thank you.
Dang it, that's what I was going to do.
Oh, shoot. Do it. You're going to do it better.
Thank you.
For being our brother.
Wow, did
That
we
might be
just
too
nail that?
energetic, though.
Okay. we'll take another run at it then.
Okay. For being our brother.
The first one was too energetic.
Gotcha. Production of this podcast is done by Alex Stewart.
With music by Jared Poff and Alex Stewart.
For show notes, rockin' merch, and other brother goodness, check out our website at anotherbrotherpodcast.com.
Be sure to come back next week.
And tell your friends so they too can become a
Brother over here, brother over there, brother everywhere. Another brother!